Gotcha. Alrighty, guys. Unforeseen events. For some reason, my computer's webcam isn't working right now. So I'm not sure if anyone's in the live right now. I'll give it a couple minutes to let people filter in. If it does work, it says I have a viewer now, so that's a good sign. Dope. I think we're good to go. But I'm just gonna chit chat for a couple minutes here. Let people file in, come in the chat. I can't figure this out on my laptop, so we are going from the iPhone. But appreciate you guys for stopping by. If you're watching the YouTube video, I'd say go ahead and fast forward to about that 5-minute mark. That's when we'll get into the discussion as I try to figure this stuff out. Live right now. Oh, there I am. Give it a couple minutes. That's trippy. I'm watching myself talk. Hey, but okay. This will be interesting. She says she has to work, so she'll get off in a minute. Thanks, Megan. I appreciate you. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you have a good time at work. We're going to go vertical. I feel like this looks better. But, all right. I'm just going to get into it. A couple of the things that contribute to a successful fat loss diet. So right now, I'm kind of in the middle of my own fat loss diet. It's been a little over a month that I've been working on losing some weight. I got back from Spain, and I'd kind of planned on doing a cut for the summer at some point. I didn't have a really certain day and time in mind, but Spain, I was drinking, I was eating a lot. That was the time. So I started this diet on February 18th. As of right now, I'm 7.5 pounds down, which is pretty aggressive. It's a lot of weight. We'll talk about some of the things that can contribute to your rate of weight loss, and then just go from like a really general to a more narrow perspective in terms of weight loss too. So always feel free for people that might be watching this in the future that want to join me, or anyone that is in the chat right now, drop me any questions and we'll cover those as we go, or cover them toward the end, whatever makes more sense. But let's talk about the first thing that contributes to a successful fat loss diet. And that is a realistic starting point. So the classic analogy, Rome wasn't built in a day. It still stands. You have to be realistic with where you're at right now, where your habits are at right now, and realistic with your time frame as well, right? So a lot of people, especially when I was working in a commercial gym, they wanted to drop like 10 pounds in a month. And it's doable, don't get me wrong. I almost did it. But for the average person, it's not going to happen. Just straight up, it probably won't happen. And it's really not like a healthy goal. We'll talk about what type of rates of weight loss, once again, are healthy and are good. But you got to realize, be honest with where you're starting, and give yourself some leeway, give yourself some time. And with that, I think that's the biggest thing that people fall apart on, is they're not giving themselves enough time with their diet. They see a week in or 2 weeks in that maybe they're pretty much the same weight, or maybe they have only lost a pound or two and they want to give it up. But, that's the biggest mistake I do see, is people just want to not be patient with the process, which is it's a tough thing to tell people. It's a tough thing to hear, but be realistic with yourself. This is going to take time. You're going to have to kind of reprogram the way you eat, the way you approach food, reprogram how you get food, whether it's changing from eating out to cooking your own meals, or just making sure that you have less of your vices in the house, which we'll talk about that. I think being realistic with yourself also kind of entails that you have to meet yourself where you're at. And that's kind of like when I'm helping people with nutrition recommendations, that's the biggest thing. So what I have people do, and what you can do as you're watching this video, if you want to pause it, or if you want to write it down while I'm talking, write down what you've eaten today, and then pick one thing, just one thing, and improve upon that tomorrow. So like, let's say, for example, for dinner today, you had a pretty healthy meal, but let's say you had like some type of like frozen lasagna casserole, right? Generally, frozen foods, higher in fat, higher in other things, preservatives as well. But one thing you can do better tomorrow is take some time early in the morning and set aside some foods that you can meal prep quickly for your dinner the following day. Like something like maybe a lean protein like chicken, maybe a healthy carb source. You have some sweet potatoes, some brown rice, what have you. I say write down everything that you're eating out throughout the day and make one improvement a day until you're feeling pretty confident about things. I feel like that exercise in itself is going to help a lot of people lose weight. Like it could be that simple. Just writing down everything that you've eaten, pick one thing you're going to improve, and it's kind of like a compounding effect. You're going to see big results with that over time. As you're meeting yourself where you're at, you don't want to try to change everything rapidly, because that's where a lot of people just they give in. It's too much at once, and they kind of have to pull it back, or they'll just say, screw it, I'm done, I'm throwing in the towel. So with that, you have to meet yourself where you're at, but you also, you got to be kind of critical of yourself. I'm trying to think of an example in my life, and that was a good example for me. Throughout the winter, you have Christmas. I'm living with my parents, and my mom, she's a baker. She loves baking. She makes really good cookies. So pretty much from like December to February, she always had cookies on hand, and it was one of those things where I could have either just done less cookies a day. I think I was probably having like 4 or 5 a day, which is a lot. I could have said, I'm going to have one with lunch and one with dinner. But I decided to actually just cut it out altogether. For some reason, over the years, I've been able to I can look at a food, I can watch people eating a food, and I don't really have to partake. That's fine with me. For other people, that might be different, right? You might have to kind of purge your house of junk food, whether it be chips, unhealthy snacks, sweets, to make sure that they're not there for you to access. That can be a great strategy for some people. For me, luckily, I don't have to be that strict, but you have to be critical of what your tendencies are and kind of what works best for you. That's going to take some trial and error too. So once again, we're going back to the patience thing. You got to kind of give it some trial and error to really figure out what is best going to serve you. I want to kind of rewind it real quick. I'm looking over at my notes. We all really know what we should do in terms of, and how to structure a diet, right? We all know like having more vegetables is good. Having more fruits is good. Cutting out convenience foods. Maybe having some more protein. Those are pretty general things. Implementation is the tough part. So then if we reverse engineer that, how do we implement those things? I feel like for me, it's just something that I've kind of lived since I was probably 14 or 15 is when I really started to become interested in nutrition. A lot of people don't have that background. They kind of just ate whatever their parents made for them, or, they eat whatever's easiest because you have a long, busy, stressful day at work. You got to come home, be with the family, be with the kids, whatever that scenario might be. Improvements, once again, will come in small little increments. But I think taking some time to, come on these lives, ask questions in the group if you feel like you're not equipped with the knowledge is really important. I'd love, and I have some ideas. I actually have a couple that I just need to post. I'd love to get some recipes going of healthy meals, options that aren't very difficult to prepare, but can be super effective and tasty. Because that's what I feel like over the years. When I first started meal prepping, it wasn't good. I remember in high school, I would bring turkey sandwiches, hard-boiled eggs, like terrible rice, bean, and chicken bowls to school, and I would eat that. Now my meal prep it's bomb. Like I don't mind the food that I eat at all, and it's very healthy, and I feel good. I feel full. But I guess my overarching point with that is, if you feel like you're not equipped, definitely that's what this forum is all about. There's plenty of resources online. Always feel free to share stuff in the group. Go out and watch some YouTube videos. Take a little bit of time. Maybe you watch a how to meal prep video. I did that at one point. I'll still do it at some points, seeing how other people cook. One, for it's a time thing for me. I want to get in and make as good tasting of food as fast as possible. Do a little bit of research and it can go a long way, because I think the biggest barrier people have is like, oh man, this healthy food doesn't taste good. And it's just simply not true. Like, I think even up till last year I had a really successful fat loss diet where over 12 weeks I lost almost 23 pounds. I never realized how good vegetables could be when they're prepared right. Growing up, my mom mostly made like frozen or canned vegetables. So, kind of had like adverse feelings toward that. And I still eat frozen vegetables like all the time. But really preparing things in certain ways are the things that are going to help you with a fat loss diet. So just a little quick recap. I think the first point that I'd like to really stress upon people is a realistic starting point. Be patient with yourself. It's going to take time. You can't go from, a C+ eating to an A+ eating in 1 week. It's just not going to happen. You go from a C+ to a B to a B+ to an A to an A+. It could take a month, 2 months to form those positive habits. And then kind of on that same vein, the second point of really how to make an effective diet is just, adapt what you're doing and improve upon it. Little things compound over time, and within, a couple weeks, you'll be good to go. Once again, the practical example I like to tell people to do, that I tell all my clients to do, is list out what you're eating in a day. Even that act of, you write out like, man, I had a whole bag of chips as a snack. I think the next day you're going to come back, and as you're writing that out again, you're like, maybe I'll swap this out for a slightly healthier snack. And then my third point, now that we've kind of recapped, is become more advanced with your strategies over time, right? This could get insanely complex. I personally have taken like graduate level classes. I kind of live this on a daily basis, listen to a lot of podcasts, and, it's what I like doing. So I don't want to like bog people down or inundate them with information, but I just want to list off a couple things, couple overarching trends that I've seen that help with successful fat loss diets. The first thing, and the one that's generally very, very hard for people to implement. This works for people that work out in the gym and people that don't work out in the gym. A big thing as you really seek to perfect your diet is adding in more protein. I think, I don't know any specific statistics, but I'd be willing to bet that like 60 to 70% of people undereat on protein. So you'll hear like a typical like bodybuilding recommendation for protein is 1 gram per pound. So for me, that's like 210 grams. The average person, as they're getting into a diet, isn't going to be able to do 1 gram per pound, but you can start to gradually improve the amount of protein that you're eating, make it incrementally higher over the weeks, right? So like, for example, as I'm working with one client right now, ideally it would be like anywhere from 150 to 175 grams of protein. But is that really going to be doable? I don't want to stress them out, so I'm going to say just try to get 100 grams in this first week, and then over time, we'll increase that. Protein's great because it supports lean muscle mass. The more lean muscle mass you have, the more calories you're going to burn at rest, and then also is really satiating, so you're going to stay full. That is one advanced strategy that makes a huge difference. Another advanced strategy that I want to cover that a lot of people have tried or do, but maybe they don't do it extremely well, is tracking your food. So once again, like I said, the act of writing out your food, it's really going to go a long way to make you realize, like, hey, I could probably do better with this. So how do we do that? I think the answer goes into developing tracking systems that work with your life, are scalable, and don't provide too many inconveniences. So there's a lot of good, honestly, you could diagram like portion guidelines and you could look that up on Google Images. You'll probably find a diagram that looks like, have your proteins be the size of a fist, have your carbs and like specifically your vegetables and fruits be like a fistful, and have your fats be like an index finger. That's a popular one that we learned all about in school. So going through those portion guidelines and structuring your meals off of that is really going to help you not eat too much. To take that a level further, what I do is I actually I go above and beyond, and I have a food scale where I know exactly how much of each food I need to eat, and I'll weigh it out accordingly. That's kind of like a little bit neurotic for some people. So I'll say, if you're just starting out on a fat loss diet for the first time, don't even worry about that. Just make sure that you're sticking within decent sized portions. You're not piling everything on your plate, and you have a good mix of proteins, vegetables, healthy carb sources, and a decent amount of fats too. Because fats, while it sounds bad and they have a negative connotation, they do. What's up, Amanda? Hope you're doing well. We're getting into the mix, talking about this fat loss stuff. But I was saying, really focusing on those portion sizes, there's a lot of good like general guidelines that can help to make sure you're not overeating with your meals. I think on that same vein, I was talking right before I gave Amanda that shout out. Amanda, feel free to drop any questions for me in the chat. We'll talk about that. A lot of people have like negative connotations or like bad thoughts about certain foods. You hear so much on the internet, like one person will be saying carbs are bad, another person will be saying fats are bad, other people will be saying I'll do a carnivore only diet where I only eat meat, other people will be like I like vegan. There's so much out there that it's honestly confusing for the person that's not super well versed in nutrition. But I am all about that balanced, even approach. Like, just do what you can, eat however. She said, I'm definitely trying to lose a little weight. Hey, I got you. If you have anything comes to mind, always drop it in the chat or just shoot me a message. We'll chat through it. But yeah, in terms of like all these specialty diets out there that you see on the internet, I'm all about moderation. Like, if anyone saw the story I posted up today, this would have been, by the time you're watching this, probably a couple posts back, but sounds good. But I was able to, I lost some weight lately. I was able to enjoy, I went to Hothead Burritos, I went to Buffalo Wild Wings, I had a burger somewhere. But like, you can still enjoy the foods that you like. Maybe it's not as much as you'd like. Maybe it's only 1-2 times a week max. But I hate for people to think that they have to completely restrict what they like to eat and they have to be miserable while they're losing weight, because it's just not true. Like, as long as you're smart and you're balanced and you're not overeating on those foods that you shouldn't overeat, you'll be all right. But portion sizes are definitely a great way to, on the meals that you're not indulging in, make sure you're staying on track so that you're going to see that sustainable progress. I'm going to get a drink of water real quick. Throat's getting dry. On the topic of progress too, tracking your progress is going to be huge. We talk about tracking your food on, maybe it's like an app like MyFitnessPal, maybe you're just writing it down in like a notebook. Tracking that progress in terms of maybe you're weighing in, you do weigh-ins on your scale at home in the morning once you wake up. Maybe you're taking progress pictures twice a week in the mirror. There's got to be some aspect of tracking in there to make sure that it actually works. Certain people, they do get really wrapped up with those numbers like the scale. So that's why I say, maybe if the scale is not for you, you can try taking pictures and making sure that you're seeing slight improvements around your midsection, around those areas that you hold fat. Little things like that to make sure that this diet, the stuff that you're putting yourself through, is actually working and actually worth it, is huge. So figure out either one or both that work for you and stick to it. So like, my routine is every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm weighing in. And if I'm seeing, kind of like a trend of I'm losing weight, that's perfect. So what I typically go for when I'm losing weight on this diet is you want to lose anywhere from 1/2 pound to 2 pounds a week. So you might look back on when I posted once again, I lost 7 pounds in a month. You'd be like, that's kind of aggressive. It's more toward the upper tier of that recommendation. I think when you first start a diet, you're gonna lose a lot of weight quickly. A couple different things that could explain that, but you might be flushing out more water if you've been eating a lot of junk that's high in sodium. If you've been drinking a lot, that can cause you to hold water, so it might be more so water weight and bloating that you're losing. But generally, when people get on a structured routine, they're going to be losing more weight initially, and then it's going to slow down. But always make sure you're in that like 0.5 to 2 pound ratio of weight loss, and I think you'll be good there. You know, there's certain circumstances, certain individuals where they might need to lose a lot of weight quickly, but if it's just the average person that's looking to get a little healthier, look a little better, then stick to 0.5 to 2 pounds per week. And basically, if you're above that, if you're losing more than 2 pounds a week, you can add a little bit more food in there, or if it's a little too slow, you're gonna need to cut back a little bit. Mostly, I cut back in the form of reducing fat and carbs in my diet. So like, I'm a big peanut butter lover. You know, I've definitely had to be cognizant of how much I'm eating because that stuff is loaded with calories. Little things like that. That's just a specific example, but little things like that definitely help out. And I think one last advanced strategy, kind of that I hinted at earlier, weighing your food can really help you understand what a portion size truly is. So for me, I'll give you both ends of the spectrum. Like I provided that example with peanut butter. When I actually weighed out a serving of peanut butter, which is like 30 or 32 grams, it's like shockingly small. I had been doing just like a scoop of peanut butter from the jar, and it was probably like 1.5 to 2 servings. Whereas, you know, a serving of peanut butter is like barely covers your spoon. It's kind of sad. But that's the advantage of having a food scale. It helps you be really precise and really understand, oh man, I've been overeating this whole time. That's one of those more advanced strategies, but one that I think if you can implement that, you're going to be set. Overall, guys, I want to cover, you know, maybe 5 to 10 more minutes of information. Didn't have a ton of questions today, but that's all right because this group is just getting going. But little recap for you. Don't get discouraged because I hear a lot of people say, oh, I want to quit. This isn't worth it. But what's the other option? Like, are you just going to continue to be unhappy with yourself, unhappy with the way you feel, unhappy with the way you look? Or are you going to put forth effort into making some kind of change? It doesn't have to be a drastic change, but little changes over time, once again, they're going to lead to big results. If you put in some kind of effort and you have a somewhat informed opinion, and if you ever want to ask questions, once again, that's what we're creating this forum. If you're watching it on YouTube, that's what the comment sections are for. Always feel free to ask questions. We'll make sure you're good to go. Second point, I want to recap. Capitalize on the things you're doing well. Maybe you feel pretty good about your ability, that you're eating a lot of vegetables. You like vegetables. For example, you don't even have to eat vegetables. I don't want to deter you, but capitalize on one aspect that you're doing well and then make slight tweaks over time to improve it. You know, that night and day difference is what causes a lot of people to fall off. So that's not what we're going for. We're going for small changes over time. You'll be good to go. And then over time, also just try to push yourself. Really don't get complacent with like, oh, you know, my plate looks pretty good. I have some good carbs, decent amount of fat and protein. I would say if you really want to get into it and you start seeing those results, you start getting more motivated, start to adapt those more advanced strategies. Definitely seek out information. A couple of the good sources that I like to go to if you want to kind of go above me and learn from the same people that I'm learning from. A great resource is Renaissance Periodization on YouTube. They do a lot of videos talking about how you can structure nutrition for your goals, whether it be you're trying to gain weight or lose weight. Jeff Nippard also does a lot of good like flexible dieting content. There's a lot of resources out there, guys. I think I do want to cover before I sign off. I do want to cover a little bit about gaining weight too, because a lot of people could stand to eat more, and I'd say with the caveat of eating more high quality things. But let's talk about that real quick. So if your goal is to eat more, but you constantly feel full, what I would recommend is more higher meal frequency, right? You're going to want to do maybe smaller meals, but instead of eating 3 times, 4 or 5. Make sure, regardless of if you're trying to lose weight or gain weight, that each meal, even your snacks, have a good, significant source of protein. So like a good example for a snack that I like, once again, I'm all about the convenience and saving time, but like Greek yogurt and protein bars kind of satiates that sweet tooth a little bit, and then you're still getting good protein in. Make sure each meal has a good source of protein. If you're trying to gain weight, drink your calories. So it's okay to maybe have like a smoothie loaded up with banana, peanut butter, extra oats, protein shake, protein powder, whole milk, orange juice if you need carbs. But on the converse side, make sure that if you're trying to lose weight, don't drink your calories. I've pretty much cut all drinks out. Haven't been drinking much at all. Yeah, I haven't drank at all since I got back from Spain. Because, real quick, we'll head on alcohol, which everybody loves to have a drink from time to time, trying to stay hydrated. But alcohol actually has 7 calories per gram, rather. So that's a lot. A lot of people will also say, oh, I'm cutting out beer, I'm switching to vodka. A shot of vodka can have anywhere from or a shot of liquor, let's say, anywhere from 100 to 150 to 120-ish calories. So don't think that your alcohol choice is going to drastically affect your ability to lose weight. Don't drink your calories. I'll just leave it at that. You got to be smart with it. Of course, there's a time and place to indulge, to enjoy those things. But if you're trying to gain weight, liquid calories are the way to go. If you're trying to lose weight, definitely limit that as much as possible, because, let's face it, you can slam 1,000 calories of liquid way easier than you could eat 1,000 calories. That'd be like 2 plates full versus 1 big cup full. So be very cognizant of that. And I think one more piece of weight loss advice that I have for you is don't be afraid to add in some high calorie foods. Like I was saying, I definitely did intentionally put on some weight, but I would throw in some cookies, some highly palatable foods, whether it's higher in carbs and fats. Maybe you have some straight up, you don't have to eat junk food all the time, but maybe you have a day or a couple meals where you have that dessert. Because for some people, it's so tough to gain weight that that's the only resort that they have. I've been in that situation where it's very, very tough to eat enough of the whole healthy chicken, rice, broccoli foods. You can only eat so much of that. So I'll say don't be afraid to live a little when you are trying to gain weight. But of course, on the converse side, you got to be smart and strategic with the way you eat those foods and utilize those when you're trying to lose weight. Well, guys, that's about all I got for you. 3 things that contribute to a successful fat loss diet. Of course, if you're watching this back and you have any questions for me, let me know. Definitely down to get a conversation going. You can drop them in the comments or shoot me a message. If you're on YouTube, I really do appreciate you for watching. Make sure you're liking the video, subscribing, sharing it around with your friends. But gonna do these weekly lives, make it a thing. Whether it's Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, might change from week to week, but definitely be on the lookout. Join my Facebook group if you're on YouTube and you haven't already. It's a good thing. We're getting a community going over there for everyone that tuned in and asked questions. I really do appreciate you guys. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your good questions always too. It's fun just to connect with people this way. I want this to be a positive place for people to ask questions, share their progress, share any insights or inspiration they might have, and I think we're on a good track for that. So appreciate you all. I'm gonna sign off for now. I'll catch you next week.